Excellent. Well, Chris, thank you so much again for joining me today to give a little testimony about your background and the experience that you've had with me in our one-on-one sessions as you went from one particularly a rough position to what you've described as more open-ended. You get to have a breathing room involved with the new position. If you could just give a brief background on, how where you come from and how you are today.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thanks for taking the time to speak with me. I started out with getting my mechanical engineering degree at a small college in Indiana called Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology, and really loved getting in the weeds, learning how the world worked. That's where I really fell in love with the industry that I ended up going into, which is controls. I've subsequently kind of pivoted from controls into a more general field of like program management. And it was quite a kind of long and circuitous path to get there. I think overall, really what my education taught me and kind of why I love engineering is it taught me kind of how to solve problems, whether that be in life, whether that be in my career. And so, yeah, really set the foundation there early on. I think also the controls industry helped a lot with that.
Hmm.
Very much a hands-on kind of get it done industry, and industrial controls. Started out at a small integrator, industrial controls integrator in the Bay Area, doing everything from like designing electrical schematics to wiring control panels, to going and installing those, to doing all the programming for those control panels. And it was pretty cool to see a project from cradle to the grave.
Ooh, yeah.
And really be involved in every step of the process, and also interfacing with the customers directly and doing that kind of customer interface and program management in that regard, on a
Hmm.
small scale. That eventually led me into a position that I was in for 9 years, originally at a larger company doing um, designing the SCADA system, or the supervisory control and data acquisition system. Really enjoyed that work. Did that for about 5 years at that company, and felt like I was kind of hit a bit of a lull in like
Mm.
my ability. It kind of felt a little bit boilerplate. Like every day I was kind of coming in and doing the same thing. It was hard to innovate in the field anymore. And so I started
Mhm.
pushing the boundaries of what those controls, industrial controls technologies could do. How can we interface with a SQL database or relational database? How can we interface with web services, that kind of thing? And from there, ended up going to higher up in the company and justifying forming a team around kind of solving business problems within our little group. Um, and that evolved into me leading a team of web developers to kind of solve people's problems, develop internal web project management
Mm.
tools. They're web-based, traditional stacks with like React, Golang, and MongoDB, and various other things that were specific to the controls industry. So really, that got me into some of the technical details of
Mhm.
the web development and software industry. And again, took along those lessons of just solving problems, like really found that like the same kind of mechanical or controls problems that I was solving in college and in my earlier part of my career were pretty transferable on a high level to the
Yeah.
world of software engineering. So that was really interesting. Also took on the challenge of becoming a leader, a people leader, and that was definitely a long journey that I thought I was, ready for, but it turns out is, pretty hard. It's not just as easy as some people might think being a
Right.
manager is, but having to now not only have technical challenges, but then also have people challenges and those interpersonal skills and all
Yeah.
those soft skills, and having helping people lift each other up and support each other even when they have
Hmm.
disagreements. So that was quite a journey. And then in that company, I got a little burned out based off of the pace they were driving us.
Right.
Again kind of felt like I wasn't moving in the right direction in my career, and didn't really come to work every day, enjoying it.
Yeah.
There's a lack of that spark that I used to have early on at the company. And so that got me looking for a different position. And because I, been doing a fairly broad set of roles at my company. I was
Hmm.
doing like everything, yeah, from product management to support, technical support to web design to people management to database work, right? So I
Yeah.
kind of had to cast a pretty big net, and that's I think really where you really came in and helped me, one, focus, and two, again, kept me accountable because I was driving so hard at work. It
Mm.
was really hard. And one of the reasons I was looking for someone to support me was that it was hard for me to focus outside of work because it really,
Ah,
looking for a job is a second job.
yes.
Um,
Yes.
and so, having that accountability partner and someone to bounce ideas off of was a huge asset through my search, and helped me stay focused, and help me narrow down which industries might be most exciting to me to continue within in my next role. And that did lead me to eventually finding another role at a new company, much
Hmm.
smaller company, um, doing technical program management. So
Yeah.
essentially leading technical teams, engineering teams on an individual contributor basis, developing schedules, working with leadership to translate big picture, company
Yeah.
objectives down into executable engineering deliverables. And so again, that was one of the hats I was already wearing at my previous company.
Hmm.
And so it's great to now be a little bit more focused, not wearing, 5, 6 different hats,
Yeah.
and being able to focus on one thing and do it well. So yeah.
Excellent. Actually, thanks so much for that. Um, you come from, highly technical background. You're a seasoned guy, senior guy, right? What were some of the exercises that you and I may have gone through that really helped, as you mentioned, focus on, okay, I really want to do this, right? I don't like these things, but I really enjoyed that. Was there anything that in our sessions came out to you?
Yeah, I think, well, one thing that was really great that I think was surprising to me was just chatting with you, was really helpful, right? I think it's kind of that therapy mindset. You're not a therapist, a licensed therapist,
No.
but like I think just talking it out through someone and being able to, like, do that what about this exercise, or
Mm,
like what about that really gets you excited, or what part of that isn't so exciting, was really helpful just to have a sounding board,
hmm.
who from someone else who is senior and technical was really, really valuable. I think having someone who is in industry, and who's seen a bunch of resumes, and,
Hmm.
and done research in industry, saying like, hey, yeah, this part of your resume really worked well. This not, let's figure out how to refine this. And he
Yeah.
did it in a way that, like, didn't hurt my delicate ego.
Right.
So you're able to guide me without being too, like, negative in any way. So
Right.
that was really, really great. A lot of positive reinforcement. And again, the scenarios that we ran through, I think one of the things that everybody struggles with, and definitely me as well, is like those kind of gotcha questions that can be asked in
Yeah.
interviews, or the what didn't go so right kind of questions, and how to gracefully handle that.
Hmm.
Be able to answer them in a direct and upfront way, but still make yourself look good.
Yeah.
Take practice, right? And so definitely going through those, and challenging me to think about those and focus on them, because I think I was a little bit like, oh man, they shouldn't be asking these in the first place, but they're
Yeah,
going to anyway. I guarantee it. So yeah,
for
those are a
sure.
few things that really helped. So
Great, great. Do you recall how many applications you submitted before securing this next role? I know many
oh
individuals
man,
feel like it's dozens or hundreds of applications. Could you give a ballpark?
I think it was in the hundreds for sure.
Hmm.
It definitely. I was looking. I'm a senior slash staff level, depending on how a company will measure that,
Yeah.
level engineer with a lot of experience from some big companies. And I kind of went into it a bit, maybe a bit cocky, like, oh, theoretically, everybody says it should be really easy for me to find another job right away. And
Hmm.
it definitely took me like several months, and I definitely got into a few, periods where I was a little disheartened, right? Because
Yeah.
you're just firing, 10 to 20 to 30 applications out a day,
Hmm.
maybe, 50 a week. So maybe it was more than hundreds. Maybe it was like a
Wow.
thousand. I don't know. I put a lot out,
Yeah,
put a lot out there to cast a wide net, and it still took me like a bunch of months. Yeah, it was a lot of applications.
for sure. Were there any during that process? Were there any application procedures or steps that kind of stood out to you? Maybe they had you do an assessment, or they're asking you odd questions like how many gas stations are in Los Angeles, something like that, to
Yeah.
kind of set you up.
Yeah, I didn't get any of those weird Google-esque sort of
Yeah.
questions that you notoriously hear about. I think there were several interviews. I did have one lengthy interview process where I
Hmm.
had probably like 5 or 6 rounds, including
Wow.
a in-person kind of roundtable with a bunch of other
Ooh.
candidates for the same positions.
Okay.
And they flew me out to Texas to one of their facilities to tour it and then do kind of an interview
Hmm.
um, roundtable, and that was quite interesting. That same company also had me do like a behavioral assessment, which I
Yeah.
thought was interesting. I think that is actually surprisingly common. It's one of
Hmm.
those things where like you answer a bunch of kind of multiple choice questions. You're not really sure what the
Yep.
right answer is, and there really isn't a right answer. It's more of like one of those behavioral scores. So that was interesting.
Right on. Right
But
on.
yeah.
And then last couple of questions for you. Other students or individuals out there hoping to find a job, was there any exercises or practices that really helped you? Maybe it was a certain ritual, or maybe how you composed yourself during an interview. Any tips like that you could share?
Um, Nothing super revolutionary. I think practice, right? Like
Yes.
really, like the fundamentals are fundamentals for a reason.
Hmm.
Going through and being like prepared. I'm a person. Everybody's different. I'm a person who finds confidence in preparation, and so really going into the interviews that I cared about, and doing the homework on the company, going
Yes.
through the job application and extracting keywords,
Right.
and making sure that I include those keywords in either my resume or in my presentation.
Right.
Really go down and analyze the what you've gained from any phone screens with the company, and collecting that into kind of general points and what they like,
Hmm.
and kind of try to focus on those key things that they keep repeating. So looking for repetition was super
Yeah.
helpful. But yeah, I think really just sticking to the fundamentals. Like, so there's a bunch of different um, ways, formats to answer questions.
Hmm.
I think since college, I've heard about the STAR method.
Yeah.
I can't remember the acronym. I think, yeah, I could guess, but like that was actually fairly helpful because it gives you like, for some of the more complex and in-depth things,
Yes.
a format to stick to make sure you're hitting on everything.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that was particularly helpful for some of those more presentation focused items, is making sure you're answering questions in a STAR format.
Excellent. Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. Even coming from yourself, a seasoned background professional, it's just those elementary skills, those fundamentals. Last question I have is how much of the soft skills would you say kind of leaned in or helped with your securing this new position? Obviously, you're very technical, have a lot of accreditations, but is communication and problem solving just really what people want?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think there are a lot of technical people out there. I think being able to communicate, connect in any
Yes.
small way with the person you're interviewing with helps. I've been actually an interviewer for some of my previous
Yeah.
positions, and interviewed people, but on the other side, and oftentimes they are almost as nervous as you are doing the interview. So being able to put them at ease and show them that you're a great person to work with, it definitely will help. Um, it's one of probably, frankly, harder to achieve than
Yes.
being a technical contributor. Frankly, it's something, I became fairly a skilled or senior level technical contributor within, let's say fewer than 5 years. It's
Hmm.
taken me probably double that amount of time to be a skilled communicator
Yeah.
and master those soft skills, because it's hard to master them other than through dedication and a little bit of learn experience. So trying it out. So again, that's where having a bunch, even just taking any interview that gets put your way, even if it's not your dream position, just getting
Mhm.
time under
Yes.
pressure, I think is how you put it, Tegan.
Definitely.
So that was really helpful with those soft skills, right? Is that actually interacting with interviewers in that pressurized situation
Hmm.
really helped with that in communication. So not
Definitely.
stumbling over words. So
Yeah, yeah. I've said to my other students as well that all employers need somebody that's reliable, accountable. punctual, and receptive. Every position you
Hmm.
go for, they're going to need those kind of four key characteristics. Well,
Yep.
excellent, Chris. Thank you so much for attending this. I really appreciate your feedback and being part of my program. I hope that I can help out in the future in any way. If you have any peers, again, that are looking for this type of help or accountability system like you described, I want to be there for them so that we can get through. As I say, everybody likes to view, but nobody likes to climb. And I think you have reached that mountaintop. Congratulations again. Well, thank you. I'll see you next time.
Yep. Thanks so much for your time, Deegan.